Imagine a car that never needs to be plugged in, never depends on lithium batteries, and never runs out of charge. Sound impossible, right? Well, not anymore. Today, we uncover the jaw-dropping technology that could rewrite everything we know about engines, energy, and the future of transportation. For decades, the race to replace the traditional gasoline engine has focused almost entirely on batteries. From Tesla's lithium-ion cells to China's solid-state prototypes, the industry has poured billions into one single idea: store more energy, charge faster, and make it last longer. This revolutionary engine works on a principle many overlooked: continuous self-generation. Instead of storing energy in heavy, expensive, and environmentally damaging batteries, it uses a closed-loop system where power is created, harnessed, and recycled in real time. While a battery holds energy until it runs dry, this engine is designed to produce its own power on the go. Some prototypes rely on advanced generators, kinetic energy capture, or even breakthrough electromagnetic drives, each one reducing dependency on external charging. Companies in the US, Europe, and Asia are racing to perfect this innovation, but its disruptive potential is already clear. Oil markets would tumble, the EV battery industry could shrink overnight, and countries rich in rare earth minerals might lose their leverage. We may be standing at the edge of the most important breakthrough since the invention of the internal combustion engine, a future where cars don't rely on batteries, don't pollute, and don't stop. So, is this the beginning of a battery-free revolution, or just another bold experiment? Only time will tell. To understand how this engine truly works, we need to look past the flashy headlines. At its core, the concept is built on energy conversion efficiency. Unlike batteries, which simply store power until depletion, this new class of engines is designed to harvest, recycle, and reuse energy in a continuous cycle. Some prototypes are said to utilize advanced magnetic systems, where rotating fields generate motion without combustion. Others are experimenting with piezoelectric materials, crystals that can convert vibrations and pressure into usable electricity. What's fascinating is that many of these ideas have existed in laboratories for decades, but only now are we seeing them brought together in practical, working designs. Behind closed doors, a quiet but fierce race is underway. Startups are pushing boundaries, claiming proof-of-concept engines that could run indefinitely. Automotive giants are secretly filing patents, hoping to adapt the technology before rivals do. And even governments are watching closely, because a breakthrough like this doesn't just change cars, it changes geopolitics. Imagine nations no longer dependent on oil-rich states, or companies no longer beholden to China's lithium supply. The ripple effect could be massive. But here's the catch: this dream technology still faces monumental hurdles. Scaling a self-powered engine isn't easy. Energy efficiency, durability, and cost are still under heavy scrutiny. For every prototype that sparks excitement, there's another that collapses under real-world testing. Skeptics argue it may never replace batteries entirely, at least not in the near future. Instead, we may first see hybrid systems, engines that drastically reduce battery size while extending range infinitely. Right now, whispers in the industry suggest three powerful forces are maneuvering behind the scenes. In the United States, defense contractors and aerospace innovators are investing heavily. Why? Because a self-powered engine isn't just about cars. It's about drones that never land, submarines that never need to refuel, and spacecraft that could travel deeper into the solar system without carrying massive fuel tanks. Meanwhile, in China, research institutions are reportedly experimenting with large-scale versions of the technology, aiming to leapfrog past Western EV dominance. If successful, China could control not only the world's battery supply, but also the very alternative that makes batteries obsolete. And then there are the startups and independent inventors. Often underestimated, these small players are filing radical patents, uploading demonstration videos, and attracting venture capital with bold claims. Some are dismissed as dreamers. Others might hold the key to a disruptive prototype that shocks the entire industry overnight. If this technology proves viable, the consequences will be unlike anything we've seen in modern history. The trillion-dollar battery industry could collapse almost instantly. Oil demand would fall faster than analysts ever predicted. Nations whose economies depend on mining lithium, cobalt, or rare earth metals might face economic upheaval. Entire energy infrastructures, from power grids to charging networks, could become obsolete. But there's another side. Those who control this technology could wield unimaginable influence. Imagine a world where just a handful of companies or governments own the key to endless power. Here's something even more intriguing. Despite early breakthroughs, very few details are being released publicly. Many insiders believe that corporations and governments are intentionally keeping the lid on this engine until they can figure out how to monetize and control it. Could it be that we already have working versions of this technology, but they're hidden away in labs, waiting for the right moment to be revealed? And this brings us to the question that's starting to unsettle the world's most powerful industries. If engines no longer need fuel or batteries, what happens to the global balance of power? If this engine technology becomes real and widespread, the balance of global power could shift overnight. For over a century, nations have risen and fallen based on oil reserves. Wars have been fought, alliances forged, and economies built around fossil fuels. Then, in the last 2 decades, lithium and cobalt became the new oil, driving the EV revolution. But a battery-free engine? That changes everything. Suddenly, the countries holding energy dominance, whether oil or rare earth minerals, could lose their leverage. Small nations with advanced science labs or forward-thinking startups could rival energy superpowers. Imagine an Africa-based startup or a European research hub releasing the first truly commercial battery-free car, while the giant of oil and lithium scramble to stay relevant. Behind the scenes, tech giants, automakers, and even oil companies are likely playing a silent chess game. Some are investing quietly, hedging their bets in case this technology takes off. Others are working just as hard to suppress it, because a world without batteries and oil means billions in stranded assets. Think about it. Charging stations, lithium mines, oil rigs, entire supply chains worth trillions could suddenly become useless. The incentive to slow down or even bury this technology is massive. Already, there are leaks and whispers. Engineers claiming to have seen early prototypes that run for days without charging. Mysterious patents describing electromagnetic engines that generate more energy than they consume. And every once in a while, a video surfaces online showing a machine running seemingly without a power source, only to disappear just as quickly. Some call it conspiracy. Others call it suppressed innovation. But one thing is certain, the idea refuses to die. Prototypes circulate in basements, warehouses, and anonymous labs. Pieces of the puzzle are being built, tested, refined, often outside the mainstream spotlight. Each breakthrough, no matter how small, is a step closer to the tipping point when hiding it will no longer be possible. And so, a question grows louder with each passing year. What happens when the first working commercial battery-free engine finally escapes the shadows? Will the world embrace it, or will it spark chaos across industries, governments, and economies that depend on the old way of doing things? Picture the moment. A small company, or perhaps even a lone inventor, unveils the first true battery-free engine to the world. The announcement spreads like wildfire across social media, shocking both experts and ordinary people. At first, mainstream media and industry leaders dismiss it as a hoax. After all, the idea of an engine running indefinitely without fuel or batteries sounds like something out of science fiction. But then demonstrations begin. Cars running for days without recharging. Generators powering entire buildings off a device the size of a suitcase. And suddenly, denial is no longer an option. Citizens, tired of high fuel prices and expensive EV batteries, rally around the breakthrough. Online forums explode with excitement. Protests emerge in cities demanding governments fast-track this new engine. Crowdfunding campaigns pour millions into startups promising to democratize the technology. For the first time, ordinary people feel the possibility of true energy independence, a world where no one controls the switch. But the establishment doesn't stay quiet. Corporations launch smear campaigns, questioning the safety and credibility of the technology. Politicians warn about unproven science and the risks of instability. Behind the scenes, legal battles ignite, with patents challenged and lawsuits piling up to slow adoption. Energy giants flood the market with cheaper oil, cheaper batteries, anything to keep the public distracted. Yet, the more they resist, the more suspicious the world becomes. What are they trying so hard to hide? Then comes the first domino. A developing nation, free from ties to oil and battery monopolies, partners with a startup to roll out a small fleet of battery-free buses. The buses run flawlessly, day and night, without charging stations, without diesel tanks, just endless motion powered by the new engine. The world watches in disbelief. Suddenly, the impossible is real. From that moment, the chain reaction is unstoppable. More nations and innovators step forward. Factories begin retooling. Investors, once skeptical, scramble to get a piece of the revolution. But with every step forward, the resistance grows fiercer. Lobbyists push for bans. Trade wars erupt. Cyber attacks target the startups leading the charge. The old powers fight desperately to keep their grip on a world that is slipping away. And yet, the idea has escaped the shadows. It's no longer a secret. As the technology spreads, the balance of power begins to crack. Countries once dependent on oil exports watch helplessly as demand plummets. Battery manufacturers, who had once predicted decades of dominance, face collapsing markets. The shock waves ripple through the global economy. Oil-rich nations scramble to reinvent their economies overnight. Mining hubs for lithium and cobalt confront mass unemployment. Car companies that invested billions into battery plants are forced to shut down assembly lines. The world enters a period of uncertainty, one that feels less like a transition and more like a revolution. But amid the chaos, a new class of innovators rises. They call themselves energy rebels. These are engineers, scientists, and entrepreneurs who openly reject the control of big corporations. They share blueprints online, releasing open-source versions of the engine. Communities all over the globe start building their own units in workshops and garages. What was once confined to secret labs is now in the hands of ordinary citizens. Villages in remote regions light up without grids. Farmers run their equipment without diesel. Families drive cars that never need refueling. And with every new success, the movement grows unstoppable. Yet the old guard refuses to surrender. Laws are rushed through parliaments, labeling self-powered engines as unsafe or untested. Corporate media outlets flood the airwaves with horror stories, claiming the engines could cause explosions, radiation, or economic collapse. But the more they attack, the more people begin to see the truth. This isn't about safety, it's about control. Then, the first real clash occurs. In one nation, government forces raid a startup lab, seizing prototypes and arresting engineers. But videos of the raid leak online. Instead of silencing the movement, it ignites fury. Massive protests erupt, demanding freedom for the arrested inventors and full transparency on the technology. What was once a scientific breakthrough is now a political uprising. The world is split in two, those clinging to the old order and those demanding the new. Every headline, every leaked document, every public test brings a tipping point closer. It's no longer just about cars or energy. It's about who controls the very lifeblood of civilization. And as the battle intensifies, one thing becomes clear. The engine that runs without batteries is not just a machine. It's a weapon, a revolution, and perhaps the most dangerous invention in modern history. The tension builds until it can no longer be contained. At a global summit, where world leaders gather to debate the chaos, something unexpected happens. A small group of innovators steps onto the stage, not politicians, not CEOs, but engineers. They reveal a working prototype in front of millions watching live. Cameras zoom in as the engine powers itself. No fuel, no batteries, no external source. The truth can no longer be denied. The crowd erupts. The world holds its breath. Within weeks, the ripple effect is unstoppable. Attempt to ban or suppress the technology fail, because the blueprint spread worldwide. Communities begin building their own engines. Corporations that once ruled the energy sector crumble under the weight of change. For the first time in centuries, energy is no longer a commodity controlled by the few. It belongs to everyone. In cities once choked by pollution, the air clears. In villages once cut off from electricity, lights shine for the first time. Families drive cars that never stop. Farmers, workers, and dreamers everywhere feel the chains of dependency fall away. The old world resists, but the new one is already here. Humanity has crossed the threshold. The battery-free engine started as a secret, whispered in hidden labs, doubted by skeptics, and hunted by the powerful. But in the end, it became more than a machine. It became a symbol, a spark of freedom, a reminder that no matter how hard the old world fights to stay in control, innovation, and human determination will always find a way. Xiaodo Tech, where innovation meets the road. The future of mobility starts here, only on Xiaodo Tech. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories about Elon Musk, Maxwell, Tesla, and the future of innovation. Until next time, keep imagining the impossible.